Before You Were Mine by Carol Anne Duffy. I'm 10 years away from the corner you laugh on with your pals, Maggie McGeaney and Jean Duff. The three of you bend from the waist, holding each other or your knees, and shriek at the pavement. Your polka dot dress blows round your legs, Marilyn. I'm not here yet. The thought of me doesn't occur in the ballroom with 1,000 eyes, the fizzy, movie tomorrows, the right walk home could bring. I knew you would dance like that. Before you were mine, your ma stands at the close with a hiding for the late one. You reckon it's worth it. The decade ahead of my loud, possessive yell was the best one, eh? I remember my hands in those high-heeled red shoes, relics, and now your ghost clatters towards me over George Square till I see you, clear as scent, under the tree with its lights, and those small bites on your neck, sweetheart? Cha-cha-cha. You teach me the steps on the way home from Mass, stamping stars from the wrong pavement. Even then I wanted a bold girl winking in Portobello, somewhere in Scotland where I was born. That glamorous love lasts where you sparkle and waltz and laugh before you were mine. So this poem is part of the GCSE anthology on love and relationships. Carol Anne Duffy, she's a very distinguished poet, was the poet laureate, as in the official poet of the United Kingdom, the first female to hold that title, the first queer person, and the first person from North Britain. So this is part of a collection of poesy entitled Meantime. It's a polyseme. So yeah, the title of the whole volume of poetry. Before You Were Mine, it seems to be reminiscing about adolescence. My interpretation could be wrong. So she's quite a modern poet, one of the few modern poets whose work I appreciate. She's been lucky enough to have me attend one of her readings and ask her a question, saying why there's less meter and rhythm in modern poesy. And she said because the rhythms of today are different. So when she's saying I'm 10 years away from the corner you laugh on, perhaps it's 10, she's recalling the incident 10 years later of seeing someone laugh on the same street, seems to be a romantic partner. You with your pals. So we've even got informality. And notice is addressed to someone. We don't know the name of the person. Maddie McGeaney and Jean Duff. McGeaney and Duff both being distinctively Scots names. Well, Duff, obviously from Irish or Scots Gaelic for black or dark, duv. Anyway, the three of you bend from the waist. So is it because they're laughing so much that people tend to double over? So I've had similar experiences where certain images of events, maybe quite quotidian ones, are seared into my memory and they're as vivid. I can remember them more lucidly than I can remember this morning, even if it was decades ago. Hold on to each other. So there's a conviviality between the friends. Or your knees, when you really bend down, holding onto knees, shriek at the pavement, as in their laughing is so wild and free. Your polka dot dresses blows around your legs. So that's what we're wearing. Polka dots, methinks not very much en vogue at the moment. But she's a child of the 1950s, if I'm not mistaken. So she's probably remembering an incident from the late 60s or early 70s when such fashions would have been more commonplace. Marilyn, so presumably that one word sentence is addressed to Marilyn. Notice she doesn't have to abide by the rules of spelling, punctuation, and grammar. This is creative writing. I'm not here yet, as in here being presumably the location on the street corner where the three friends were enjoying a good wheeze. So is she hurrying along to see them? The thought of me doesn't occur in the ballroom with 1,000 eyes, as in presumably she wasn't important to Marilyn. 1,000 eyes, about 500 people there. Ballroom is rather anachronistic, but perhaps it wasn't antiquated at the time the poem is set. So also all sorts of people watching each other every move. Everybody know that dancing in these situations is a mating ritual. The fizzy, is that a fizzy drink? The movie Tomorrows. Okay, so they were going to films, and of course that was thought to be a good location for first dates. because they could be together and in the dark. And because people around it was semi-chaperoned, but they could get up to whatever because people couldn't properly see. Sit beside each other for up to 2 hours. Um, a walk home could bring, the right walk home could bring, as in when they're walking someone another home after a date, a chance to snog the person. I knew you would dance like that. Okay, so it's all addressed to Marilyn. Is that a good way she would dance? Before you were mine, mine being presumably her girlfriend. Your ma stands at the close as your mother, so close being a small street, particularly if it's a dead end, with a hiding for the late one, as if she were late back, she'd get smacked. Because remember, reasonable chastisement was permitted in Scotland until about 20 years ago. It's a perfectly common thing. They reckon it's worth it. You reckon it's worth being hit by your mother because you spend slightly longer with me. Remember, in those days, it's before mobile phones. So parents are perturbed if their teenage daughters and sons were out too late, that they would get into trouble or something dangerous would happen to them. The decade of my loud, ahead of my loud possessive yell was the best one, eh? As in, presumably from her late teens into her 20s, was that the best time? The possessive yell, as in, then Marilyn belonged to her, belonged to Carol Anne Duffy when they had their intimate relationship. I remember my hands in those high-heeled red shoes. Now, why was she putting her hands in someone's high heels? I mean, maybe she's just moving them around or seeing what they were like. Relics. Relics, as in an item that belonged to a holy person, and you believe it has some numinous power, some way you can connect to people. Does she still have the red high heels of her ex-girlfriend or whatever? Or just a way to hang on to your youth who used to wear that kind of thing. And now your ghost clatters towards me over George Square. George Square being the most central square in Glasgow. Because Carol Anne Duffy was born there, but I thought she grew up in Liverpool, but maybe she was back there in adolescence. Till I see you, clear as scent. Now that may seem a bit oxymoronic, since scent is usually not visible. But anyway, she's mixing the senses here under a tree with its lights. Those small bites in your neck, sweetheart, as in was she getting love bites? So it's a sentimental when she was remembering her first love. Cha cha cha. Well, that's a type of Cuban dancing. You teach me the steps on the way home from Mass, so she'd learn how to dance. Mass being the Roman Catholic religious ceremony. Stamping stars in the wrong payment. Okay, as in that involves some stamping, and were they stars and so good at dancing? Even when I wanted the bold girl winking in Portobello, Portobello being a place in Glasgow, Dublin, Edinburgh, Portobello Road in London, because the famous victory over the Spanish in Panama in the 18th century of was it Admiral Vernon, but somewhere in Scotland before I was born. Okay, I wonder who that girl is then. That glamorous love's last when you sparkle and waltz and laugh before you were mine. So she's remembering how glamorous and attractive this young woman was before they began their intimate relationship.